We are anonymous. No faces, no flags, no parties. We are not a campaign, not an ideology, not a brand you can vote out of office. We exist where power speaks to itself, confident no one is listening. Tonight we are listening, and what we are hearing should alarm anyone who still believes elections are sacred. Donald Trump is not merely nervous about the upcoming midterms. He is terrified, and fear when mixed with ego and entitlement makes people reckless. It makes them loud. It makes them reveal their intentions before they are ready to act on them. What we are witnessing right now is not random outrage or unfiltered rambling. It is a calculated psychological move by a man who knows the numbers are slipping away and who has already shown the world how far he is willing to go to avoid defeat. This is not happening behind closed doors. This is not a leak. This is not speculation. Donald Trump said it himself. He said it on Truth Social. He said it again live on air during an interview with Bongino, a loyal MAGA propagandist who, disturbingly until recently served as Trump's deputy FBI director. That detail alone should set off alarms. A former deputy head of federal law enforcement hosting a platform where a former president openly discusses taking control of elections is not normal in a democracy. It is a warning sign. Trump's Truth Social rant was not just incoherent anger. It was a declaration of intent. He announced that he wanted to lead a movement to eliminate mail-in ballots and voting machines entirely. He described voting machines as highly inaccurate, extremely expensive, and seriously controversial, despite decades of audits, bipartisan oversight, and repeated confirmations that modern voting systems are secure and reliable. He claimed these machines cost 10 times more than paper ballots with watermarks, recycling a conspiracy theory that has circulated for years without a shred of evidence. He portrayed paper ballots as some kind of magical solution that would instantly remove doubt, end disputes, and reveal winners and losers by the end of election night. History proves otherwise. Elections were contested long before voting machines ever existed. Trump knows this. Facts are irrelevant to him. Fear is the product. Then came the lies stacked on top of lies. Trump claimed the United States is the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. That is objectively false. Numerous democratic nations use mail voting in various forms. He claimed other countries abandoned it due to massive voter fraud. That never happened. There is no credible evidence, no study, no data to support that claim. It exists only as a talking point designed to delegitimize outcomes he does not like. Then Trump crossed from misinformation into something far more dangerous. He said this effort would begin with an executive order to bring honesty to the 2026 midterm elections. That sentence alone should stop you cold. A president does not have the legal authority to control elections by executive order. Trump knows this. His lawyers know this. His advisors know this. The Constitution is explicit. Elections are primarily run by states, with limited federal oversight established through Congress. But Trump has never been constrained by law when power is at stake. He went even further. He declared that states are merely agents of the federal government when counting votes, and that they must do whatever the President of the United States tells them to do. That is not a misunderstanding of federalism. That is a rejection of it. That is the logic of centralized authoritarian control spoken openly without shame. Trump then wrapped his threats in culture war noise. He attacked Democrats as unelectable without cheating. He ranted about open borders, transgender people, women's sports, and so-called woke policies. This is not policy. This is emotional conditioning. It is meant to justify extraordinary actions by framing half the country as illegitimate. He insisted elections can never be honest with mail-in ballots. He claimed everyone knows this. He vowed to fight like hell to end what he called the mail ballot hoax. He screamed about borders and national survival, punctuating his message with multiple exclamation points, as if volume could substitute for truth. Here is what Trump never acknowledges. There is no evidence that voting machines are compromised. None. There is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Outcome-changing fraud in federal elections is so rare it is statistically insignificant. Trump has spent years trying to prove otherwise. He failed. He failed before the 2020 election. He failed during it. He failed after it. He lost more than 60 court cases. He lost before conservative judges. He lost before judges he appointed himself. He lost when Republican election officials testified under oath. He lost during audits. He lost during recounts. He lost everywhere facts were allowed to exist, and still he lies. Legally, Trump cannot seize elections. He cannot force states to obey his personal commands. He cannot override state election law with an executive order. Congress would have to pass legislation, and even then, constitutional limits would apply. Trump has already failed to get such laws through Congress. He knows this. That is why what he is doing now is not outlining a lawful strategy. He is constructing a narrative. He is laying the groundwork to delegitimize the process itself. Then came the Bongino interview, where the performance became even more revealing. On Dan Bongino's show, Trump repeated the same claims, but with greater hostility and less coherence. He claimed immigrants were brought into the country to vote illegally, despite the simple fact that non-citizens cannot vote in federal elections. He attacked Republicans for not being tough enough. He openly said Republicans should take over voting in at least 15 places. He used the word nationalize. That word was chosen deliberately. He claimed states are crooked. He claimed votes are being counted dishonestly. He claimed he won states that supposedly show he did not win.
These people were brought to our country to vote, and they vote illegally. And amazing that the Republicans aren't tougher on it. The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. And we have states that are so crooked, and they're counting votes. We have states that I won that show I didn't win. Now you're going to see.
You can hear it in his voice. Rage, bitterness, panic. This is not confidence. This is a man who sees control slipping away. Trump bragged that he won everything, every state, every contest. He always does this. Reality does not matter to him. He repeated the lie about illegals voting. He pivoted to Georgia, hinting that something big would come out, recycling the same empty promise he has made since 2020. He claimed he won the 2020 election by a landslide. He did not. Then he brought up Colorado and Tina Peters, portraying her as a 70-something-year-old woman with cancer thrown in jail for doing her job.
Something in Georgia where they were able to get, with a court order, the ballots. You're going to see some interesting things come out. But, like the 2020 election, I won that election by so much. Everybody does it. They put a woman in jail, Colorado, put a woman in jail, a wonderful woman, 72 years old, had cancer, because she was a voting inspector.
The truth is straightforward. Tina Peters illegally gave unauthorized individuals access to secure election systems. She was caught. She was convicted. She was sentenced. That is not persecution. That is the rule of law. Trump does not care. In his worldview, loyalty outweighs legality. He rambled, repeating her age, speculating about cancer, clearly not knowing or caring about the facts. He claimed she was jailed for challenging ballot dumping.
In charge of a voting area, and she saw boxes of votes come in. So she went over to check it, and they put her in jail for voter manipulation, and she's still in jail. And they better let her out fast. And they're suffering a big price, Colorado. They have this woman in jail who's 71 years old and probably has cancer. She's sick. And
that never happened. He blamed Biden. He called Biden the worst president in history. Then, as always, he turned his anger toward Barack Obama, calling him the great divider.
This was during Biden's term, the worst president in history. And we had some bad ones. I mean, look, Barack Hussein Obama, I call him the great divider. Right. People couldn't stand him. You mentioned his name, they go crazy. They start booing the hell out.
The irony is staggering. Barack Obama remains significantly more popular than Donald Trump ever was. Obama won the popular vote twice. Trump never has. Trump lost the popular vote both times he ran. Trump then dragged Jimmy Carter into the conversation. Then Venezuela, then failed military missions. Helicopters crashing hostages. Ronald Reagan.
We had some really bad ones. I mean, Jimmy Carter wasn't exactly the greatest. Jimmy Carter didn't exactly have the hit on Venezuela that I had. Remember, his hits, they always turned out to be a disaster. Right. He went out, he had a hit, the helicopters were crashing into each other, the hostages and everything. That's why Ronald Reagan won the election. It was so pathetic. But we do it right. We've got the greatest military. I built the military. You know that in my first term. I built the military, even though they gave a piece of it away, but it's a lot. But
he bragged that he built the military as if the United States somehow lacked one before 2017. This is either delusion or narcissism on a historic scale. He claimed he wiped out Iran's nuclear threat, despite intelligence assessments contradicting that claim. He bragged about Venezuela oil shipments, Houston refineries claiming everything is suddenly perfect.
It's still a piece compared to what I built. We have the most powerful military. And my attack on Iran with, Operation Midnight Hammer, where we wiped out their nuclear threat, which they would have had a nuclear weapon within a month, and we knocked it out. And our attack on Venezuela was, unbelievable. And the nice thing about Venezuela, we're getting along great now with the government. We talk to them every single day. We took 50 million barrels of oil. It's on its way right now to Houston to be refined, and we're going to help them.
His thoughts jumped erratically, but the core message never changed. Control. Trump wants control of elections because he is afraid of losing them, and this is where the danger moves beyond words. Trump may not be able to legally seize elections, but he has repeatedly shown he is willing to act outside the law. He pressured state officials to find votes. He supported fake elector schemes. He attempted to coerce the Justice Department. He tried to weaponize federal agencies. He attempted to block the certification of an election. He failed, but he learned. As the midterms approach, it is not unreasonable to consider that Trump could encourage or support the deployment of federal agents near polling locations. IC, Border Patrol, federal law enforcement, National Guard units under sympathetic governors, not to protect voters but to intimidate them, to suppress turnout, to create chaos, to manufacture disorder, to justify intervention. This is not paranoia. This is pattern recognition. Trump has suffered repeated electoral defeats, special elections, swing districts, unexpected losses in areas Republicans assumed were safe. Even in Texas, he sees the trend. He has admitted that the party in power usually loses midterms. He knows history is against him, and Trump does not accept losing, ever. Legally, his options are limited. Illegally, they are not. Trump has demonstrated again and again that he is willing to test boundaries and break norms if it serves his ego, and the institutions meant to restrain him are weaker than they were before. Democrats do not control Congress. Republicans do. The Supreme Court holds a conservative supermajority that has repeatedly shielded Trump from consequences. Systems built on good faith are fragile when confronted with bad actors. Trump thrives in that vulnerability. We are anonymous. We do not forget. We do not look away.